in the battle of experience, talent is what always wins. So how much does it mean? It's always a question. The Warriors had to gain it in the first place, but look where they are on the list. And look way down the list.
Oh boy.
Playoff experience, 148 games. If you take Millsap out, how many would be left?
He's like
148. Right? He's got to be most of those. So we take our experienced man of the people, Dennis Scott, and had him chat with the Nuggets about this quote-unquote issue.
How excited you guys to finally be back in the mix?
Man, we're excited, man. It's been a long time since we've been here. The last 2 years, we came down to the wire to one game, so we're excited we're finally here, ready to get to it.
Are people making too much of lack of experience coming in the playoffs where they're saying so much about the Spurs you guys may not be ready?
I think so. I think we play hard. I think we got a great home court advantage. I think we got a great team, great chemistry, and a great coach to compete. We're not worried about the experience. We just want to go out there and play.
The only way you get experience is by being there. So that's what's great about this postseason for us. No one can say next year, this is your first playoffs. But we've kind of battled that all year long. We're the second youngest team in the NBA, and we never use that as an excuse, and we're not going to start using it now.
What are the things you guys just need to do well to make sure you last team standing?
Same things as you needed to do well against Dallas in our last game or any game during the season. It's still basketball, still the same things. There's no magic. There's no magic plays. Everything that you did during the season is just as important now.
Win or lose a game, you got to be able to understand that next game is going to be even tougher. Every possession counts. It's no more of my bads. It's out there smelling blood. You got to go out there, want to win every single possession that you can, so you come out with the victory.
Yeah, I expect San Antonio to be nervous. Us?
Yeah.
You know what? We have so many young players. I'm sure there'll be that initial adrenaline, nerves. But I really think probably after the 2-3 minutes of getting up and down, that will subside. We'll get back to playing our game.
You heard the comments from Mike Malone and company. Very different look, though, of how these series are after, yes, a regular season bucket. Producer extraordinaire Tom Heit's currently working on the what if this shot was not made. Because you might have to talk about the changes that would be different.
Or the 30 things that would have changed.
Okay, no, I'm not doing that show. For example, if you look here on this bracket as we get into this series with the Nuggets and the Spurs, look at the bracket for Denver. We've always asked who could beat Golden State. Houston's name comes up often because of what happened last year. Well, because of that shot, they are now sitting there with Utah, and going to Utah, never easy. That's a tough matchup. And Oklahoma City ends up at the bottom, getting a Nurkic-less Portland team who they've beaten all 4 times they played this season. And Denver is now looking, and they don't have either Houston or Golden State to deal with. And I don't want to say coast. I'm not trying to say it's easy, but it's opened up some interesting, I think, things for everybody that's a fan without anything, a horse in the race like we are, because somebody's going to be in that conference final that many of us did not expect. I think most people would have 2 weeks ago, right, guys, voted, if you wrote it in without knowing, Houston, Golden State, not going to be. It could very well be Denver. So let me ask you about the experience coming back to that. They're going to play a team that has not only a coach who has a world of it, but players who have much more than they do. How much does that actually matter heading into this Spurs Nuggets?
Well, it matters some, especially when you start to add coach and Mike Malone. This is his first game as a head coach coaching the playoffs. And experience-wise, and you take Isaiah Thomas, I don't know how much he'll play, Paul Millsap. Other than that, I think you go to Plumlee and maybe Will Barton. Experience means a lot, especially when you're playing up against a Greg Popovich Spurs team. They've been there, they've done that. DeRozan's been in games, DeMarcus been in games, and it's huge because it's about the home and road situation. The Spurs can come in and get game one. That'll put a lot of pressure on any team, but more with a team that's inexperienced.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you haven't been in the playoffs, you don't understand that it's a totally different season. A lot of times, fans hear us talk about the different season. They think it's just regular basketball talk, and it's not. It's a real thing. Playoff basketball is a lot different than regular season basketball. The game slows down. People are more focused on the scouting reports. If you can't shoot in a 7-game series, they're going to give you shots for 7 straight games. It's not going to be like in the regular season where every team might adjust and play you differently. Like, no. You can't shoot. We're going to make the ball find you. So playoff basketball is very different. You have to adjust to it. And if this Denver team adjusts quickly, they can win this series. But if there's a couple of bumps in the road, or if they allow San Antonio to steal a game, that's where it becomes interesting because they don't have the experience to fall back on.
Here's, and I want to start with you, Brendan, from a Biggs perspective, even though Jokic a little bit different than you were as a player. Slightly different skill set, right? Steve Smith?
Yeah, I could have been confused. Our games could have been confused.
Right,
with
clearly.
each other's.
But his game has been confusing. We've talked about this a lot over the nights we've worked together all year. He'll take 17 shots, be demonstrative, and then have a triple-double where he scores 28. The next game he takes 2 shots. What version of Jokic, what Nikola Jokic do you need to see for them to have success here in the playoffs?
I need him just to have an impact. And whatever that is, a great player should never go into a game predetermining what his game plan is going to be. Oh, I'm going to take 30 shots tonight. Well, they might double you every time you get the ball, so you might have to be a passer. So for my thing is, long as Jokic is aggressive and he puts his stamp on the game, I'm fine with it. I don't care if he takes 17 shots. I don't care if he takes 7 shots, as long as he's causing a problem. And if he's taking 7 shots, I need it to be because they're double teaming him and he's finding teammates and his assists are up. What he cannot be is passive. He can't have lulls on the court where we don't know he's out there. Like I said, if he's not shooting the ball, it needs to be because the defense is determining that he needs to move the ball elsewhere. So I don't really care about the number of shots. That's neither here nor there. I care about impact. And he has to impact the game from the start of the series to the end.
In great tennis matches where there used to be huge serves, it would be you wait for that one break point because it just seemed easy. Right. That's this series between the home and the road splits. You've been involved in all sorts of playoff sets, Smitty. How much does the home court advantage matter? And who's got the better chance, do you think, to maybe sneak one out on the opponent's floor when you look at this series in Denver?
Well, I think it's the San Antonio Spurs. This game one is huge for so many reasons. It gives home court back to the San Antonio Spurs, but a young team without experience, it puts a lot of doubt for them. And I would be Wood. The one thing I look at Jokic that he has problems with is a athletic big. Doesn't have this in this series with LaMarcus Aldridge, and somebody's going to be physical to kind of get him out of sorts. Once he gets emotional, I think he loses his game. The one thing is LaMarcus won't be that physical with him. LaMarcus is not a runner, but Popovich will have a game plan, whether they're fronting him. He doesn't want him to have touches. He's so good with having touches. I think the one thing is they will definitely try to front him and make him have less touches so he won't be able to have his imprint on the game.
Don't you love that we're not talking about who might play who? We are actually in it to win it. But is Joel Embiid? That's a question.
Jamal Murray, too. Got to control his emotions.
That continues to be a question. Game time decision. It's almost game time. We'll decide how this series looks when we return. Game time. Are here. It is time. No way was that over dramatic. I mean, with Game of Thrones, you got to feel that. And we feel it here on set. We've got a lot to get to. Of course, we're leading you up to what's, I think, a great start to the playoffs. Interesting series, Sixers and Nets. Embiid, as of now, Brett Brown saying still a game-time decision. We'll keep you posted on that. Talk plenty about that game, all the games today. But how do we not? 2 things. 1, bring in the Friday Night Live crew to get you started. Stern, Smitty, and B. Wood. But, guys, not talk about where the Warriors are. When you go into each postseason, it seems like over the years, Smitty, it's been, okay, how easily are they going to win it? Not if they're going to win it. Do you have the same feel this time around, or is it possibly the beginning of the end of the run?
You know, I think it's possibly the beginning of the end if you have some guys leave the franchise. But when you start talking about the playoffs starting today with the guys they have healthy, they're still the favorites. They were favorites for me in the preseason. I look at it as, yes, this team has played a lot of games. They could be, you know, obviously sore and wore down because they play so many games. But when you have 4 guys that can get you 15 more in a quarter when things are going bad, you will always have a chance. They used to have 3. Now they have 4. I think Cousins still a guy who can get you 15 in a quarter because he's that good. So I think with that many weapons, B. Wood, it's going to be hard to dethrone them. Other than if some other team can get hot and take away some things in injury, I still have the Golden State Warriors.
You almost feel like they'd have to have that 0 for 27 that was against them, which they won't have. Brendan, let's talk about the guy I've been calling the cheat code since they made the deal, and that's Boogie. What did you see during the course of the year? And I know somewhat disjointed in terms of how much he played and who played with him, but what kind of a sense did you get of the impact and role he'd have here in this run?
Well, offensively, he gives them somebody else that they can go to in the half court, and that's what Steve Smith just alluded to, is the fact that, hey, if Kevin Durant's not going or if Klay Thompson's not going, they can throw it in the Boogie. He can get you 2 or 3 buckets in a row. He's an excellent passer out of the post. He spaces the court. Like this team needed any more spacing, he gives them a 5 that can stretch the court. So he does a lot of things great offensively, and that's where he impacts the game. On the defensive end is where you have some questions, and I want to see how teams will attack him in the playoffs. Will they try to highlight Boogie in the pick and roll and go at him consistently until the Warriors take him off the court? I don't know. It remains to be seen. So it's the yin and the yang for the Golden State Warriors. If his offense outweighs the defense in the pick and roll, he's going to stay out there and he's going to have a big-time playoff.
But you know, B. Wood, they added Bogut for defense.
Yes.
So that's what another thing is. You talk about the cheat code. That's another guy, chemistry-wise, that can defend extremely well on the pick and roll. And he's a live guy, and he's another great passer. And then, Kevon Looney is still the third backup. So they are loaded at the center spot.
By the way, I was going to say this thing anyway, the suit combo and the faded clean, but you know it is when he went from Smitty to Steve Smith. You've now elevated.
Yes.
He will be Mr. Smith.
Yeah. Hey, listen, man. Hey, my guy comes in sharp, boy.
I heard Steve Smith.
You heard that, right?
I know where we were going.
I'm like,
hey, listen, man.
Saturday morning, we're not Friday Night Live anymore.
Hey, we haven't worked with each other for a long time doing this here at tournament, so I call you Steve Smith.
We talk about, for the three of us, the three-peats, even harder to wrangle in, believe it if you can. Last 5 teams, possibilities, the results in the third year. Pretty special players on that 0-2 Laker team. 98 Bulls in that group. So what about the Warriors, the health of Steph and their opponent? With more, a report from our own Kristen Ledlow.
I'm Kristen Ledlow at Oracle Arena, where the 2-time defending champion Warriors and the Western Conference's top seed gets prepared to host the 8th-seeded LA Clippers in round 1, game 1, Saturday night. Tuesday night, the once back-to-back MVP Stephen Curry left in the first quarter in New Orleans after his right ankle gave way. So both he and Coach Kerr ever so briefly addressed his health status.
Steph was fine, went through all of practice, looked good.
Meanwhile, the 8th-seeded Clippers actually traded their leading scorer at the trade deadline and somehow still improved offensively for the remainder of the season. They're led by Lou Williams, who also leads all bench scorers in the NBA, and he's a favorite for the 6th Man of the Year. So both Coach Kerr and Steph Curry went on to address how to slow down a player of his caliber.
I mean, he's savvy, he's quick, he's deceptive, he's never in a hurry. He obviously got a knack for drawing fouls and keeping, defense on their heels a little bit. And he's a gamer. That's the biggest thing. He just likes big moments.
He's figured out how the game is officiated, so he maneuvers in ways where he can draw fouls. You have to be very careful with him, just like James Harden. And you've got to do your best to challenge the shot without biting on the pump fake. Great player, fun to watch, and a huge key to their team.
The Warriors look to make history, seeking a three-peat in the final season here at Oracle Arena. Steph, of course, downplayed the possibility, but it all starts tonight.
All right, Kristen, thank you very much. We talk about this group and turning that switch, right? And Brendan, I'll start with you because, Brendan Haywood, I'll start with you because regardless of what's happened or questions or infighting or injuries over the years, and there have been different stories, this group knows what it takes. They understand what needs to get done. But this may be the last time they get to do it with Kevin Durant. Does that make it a little bit of a different feel from the outside and even maybe from the inside for them on this ride?
For the inside, I think it's definitely a different feel. And I think it can be something that's a positive. I think when you look at this Golden State team over the last couple of seasons, they've had a bad habit of coasting at times and playing down to the level of their opponent or not coming out with the right energy. Even in playoff series, you'll see them win a couple of games and they'll just come out and relax. I think the fact that this could possibly be KD's last stand, this could be a rallying cry, something that the team all rallies around. Everybody says, hey, we have to go ahead and have the right type of mentality every night in, every night out, because we don't know what this team will look like next year. Boogie Cousins is probably not going to be there. KD might not be there. We don't know what's going to go on with Draymond, Clay. So this team as a whole, with so many different moving parts in the offseason, they understand this could be their last go-round, and I think we're going to get the best out of Golden State in these playoffs because of it.
I think so. I would be Wood. I just go back to all those guys as a player. Why? Why would you leave this? You're going over to San Francisco, the new arena, but that's another story.
And an extra year of a whole lot of money?
Mm-hmm, but
hey, we can do another segment on that.
A whole bunch of segments. But I'm with B. Wood. I think it's so much going on that they all have to lock in. And then I think also this is the best type of opponent for the Golden State Warriors. Patrick Beverley. Also, you look at Montrezl Harrell, the way they will play, it will be physical from the start. They will be engaged. To Steph and Patrick Beverley. This team will lock in because of the opponent and because of what B. Wood said.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about the east side of things.
He's not Brandon Haywood. He's B. Wood still to me.
I'm B. Wood. You Smitty now.
Oh, my gosh. As we move on, we'll get into the east side of things and get into a series which could be the upset special, especially if Sixers fans are upset that Embiid's warm-up doesn't turn into them playing. It is still a game-time decision. On the West Side, the decision seemed to have been made by most of the media and fans. Denver, they can't take out Golden State. What can the Nuggets accomplish? We'll discuss.